The Clemson freshmen are ready to dominate the spring game in the 2025 season. I'll tell you exactly who you should be looking at this weekend right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 and 97.5 FM, The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and notification bell over on YouTube so you can never miss an episode. You know how we do it here on Locked On. It's Monday through Friday, exclusive Clemson content right here for you. And in between episodes, don't forget to follow me over on X. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the players that you need to pay attention to for this weekend spring game. It's coming up. It's already here. Just a few days to go. There's the trenches you need to look at. There's the explosive offensive players. And then I'll even give you a little hint of what to look at, maybe even in the future. So we'll talk about that as we finish it up. But Clemson is back to dominating the trenches with the guys that they have right now. I think they have one of the best offensive lines and defensive lines that they've had in years. They're returning a lot of starters. They've added in a few new pieces. I think it's going to be great for them going forward. They've got a couple of second string guys and backup guys that are going in and fill in spots when they're needed to, and they're just as good. So I think it's really awesome to kind of see where Clemson is at right now for 2025. But there are also some freshmen that we need to talk about and that we're going to see, hopefully see on Saturday, and kind of get a little bit of a glimpse at what they could do in the future. But really, the future is now for these guys, because I think that they could contribute immediately for this team in certain situations. Maybe not a true starter yet, but I do think that they can contribute immediately. And it starts with the line of scrimmage, and that's what's very important, to be able to have your way, push your will around against the opponent. It starts with the trenches, the line of scrimmage, and Clemson is going to own it again, and they're building up into domination like we used to see back in the day. So Saturday's game is one of those games that I'm looking forward to see really kind of that offensive line. I don't know if it's something you typically look at when you watch games in the season, but I think it's really important to look at the offensive line, defensive line when you go to the spring game, because you can kind of tell who they're using more often, how they're rotating, what the lineups are like, who works well together, who's maybe still struggling. I like to really focus on those kind of positional battles there to see who may be giving us a glimpse of what they can do. And I think there's a few guys that you got to look at. Clemson's pass protection, typically is pretty good, I think, but we saw some struggles in the run blocking. Defensive line on the other side, they're typically a very good defensive line as well, but they kind of struggled against the stopping the run in 2024. So how are they going to improve that? We talked about how Peter Woods is going to do that, but I think some of the 2025 freshmen, specifically Amare Adams and Brayden Jacobs, are going to be able to help both sides of the ball, because let's just be honest, Amare Adams and Brayden Jacobs are absolute beasts. They're nasty, and they're going to bring back that, national championship type style that we're used to. Now, I've already talked about Amare Adams many times, because he and South Florence really gave my Westside High School, my alma mater, a tough time in the state championship. But I like to claim my new hometown as Fountain Inn, so I have my Fountain Inn hat on today. But Amare Adams, he'll be number 95. So there'll be a lot of new players. So I suggest you go on the website, go to ClemsonTigers.com, and go ahead and write down, or maybe even there's a couple of posts like on Instagram or X where you can see the jersey numbers. And so that's number one for me. Like, if you're a super fan, you need to get the jersey numbers for the new guys, and maybe any change in numbers for some of the older guys that have taken on new jersey numbers. So you need to know the numbers and recognize the numbers with the names, and try to start to figure out who's who, because you don't want to be that guy against hosting all your friends and family versus LSU and not know who's who. And they say, who's number 95? And you're like, I don't know. Must be somebody I don't remember. No, you want to be an informed fan. So let's be an informed fan. Number 95, Amare Adams, 6'4", 315 from South Florence, 5-star guy, big time player. Depending on where you look, 7th overall, second best defensive lineman in the country, number 1 player in the state, according to 24/7 Sports. So this kid is a unicorn, in my opinion. He ran a 4.940 at camp, benches 405, squats 600 per his huddle profile. Dabo has been really, gushing over him, calling him twitchy. Now, it's kind of hard to understand twitchy if you're not really like into football or recruiting or scouting, but, just has those quick twitch muscles to kind of get off the line very quickly and in a short amount of time, be able to make a lot of moves in a short amount of space, a short amount of time. And that's kind of how I think about twitchy. And you want that on the defensive line because most people describe defensive linemen in that way. That are at the level that Clemson recruits at, but disruptive, twitchy. That's the kind of guy that's really going to make it difficult for offensive linemen to kind of scheme against. And he's going to have to warrant a lot of double teams. And in high school, he did that. And I think in college, he's going to still have to do that as well, because that's the caliber of talent he is. And we're already hearing it in spring practice that the Clemson offensive line is having to double team him a lot as well. And he's blowing those up too. So this guy is a guy who, if you get to say ready for the spotlight, I think number 95, Amare Adams, definitely ready for the spotlight. I mean, he picked Clemson over big time schools. This is a guy who's at the university over Alabama, over Southern California, and he's going to be able to get into the rotation. And this is going to be like a quick year for him. He's going to need to be a sponge. I think he'll be able to be a part of the rotation, keep guys healthier than last year that we saw on the defensive line. But he's a guy that is going to have to earn his right to get a rotation in. Peter Woods is going to be there. DeMonte Capart's going to be there. Those guys are going to be your staples. I think you're going to, Watford is also there, a younger guy. And you got a couple of other like in the middle guys that want to get their name out there as well. But I think Amare Adams is a guy you're really not going to be able to keep off the field for too much. Just a really rare talent, agile, and just disruptive against the offensive line in the spring practices that we've seen so far. So the second string offensive line, don't want to see him around. Third string, definitely don't want to see him around. And he's even giving a little problems to the first string, the ones that are at least healthy. But so Amare Adams, number 95, could he get a rotation spot? Yeah, I think so. I mean, there might be some specific situations where he could flourish, whether it be like the special teams at first and then kind of growing into like situational type defensive roles. He's a guy that can definitely get to the quarterback and chase him down. He's on the fence for me for a red shirt candidate. I mean, he would only be a red shirt candidate if the guys that are already there are healthy and are just, he's not able to break into the rotation. His physicality has already set the tone. He's got that, confidence about him, and he's helping build up and kind of replenish this unit with some youth that they have now with him in there. So a future star, that's what the spring game is all about, is seeing a glimpse of the future stars. And these guys like this don't just, come out of, you don't just get them every single day, every single year in and year out. So Amare Adams, definitely a guy. When I look at the spring game, I think he had a lot of raw power in high school. A lot of the scouts had mentioned. So when he's faced in a Power 4 conference, how is he going to flourish? I think it's footwork, it's hand movement, how quickly he can shed blockers. So when you're watching 95 this Saturday, I would say, okay, look at who he's matched up against. And is it somebody that has much more experience than him? How does he do well versus guys that have a lot of experience? How does he do against guys who don't have as much experience? You just don't want him to be a bull rusher unless he's just absolutely dominant with that. You want to see kind of what his skill set can be. Can he do more than just pushing you back over? Because you're not going to be able to do that at the college level to everyone. So you got to have more than just a bull rush, right? And then the last guy, or the second guy that I had on the offensive side of the ball is Brayden Jacobs, 6'7", 310, Milton, Georgia. one of the best offensive linemen in the country. He's an absolute mountain. 34-inch arms, 5'2", 40 type guy. Antonio Williams has called him a freak. He won the 7A state title in Milton, blocking for a guy that almost had, I think I looked at Max Preps, their running back almost had 2,000 yards. If you combine their running back and quarterback, they did have over 2,000 yards rushing. He picked Clemson over Georgia, Ohio State, and he's a guy that's going to be your next left tackle. I think he's going to be your next elite offensive lineman coming in, and huge upside, huge body, and depth for him matters right now because we've seen that he's been able to flourish in practice because of some of the injuries that are there. Already a very functional offensive lineman, and the physicality and the measurables, like I said, they're definitely there. To me, though, height and weight is a blessing from God for sure for a football player, but just kind of how does he use that? Is he just big just to be big, or is he actually a pretty athletic type of person? I'd rather you be athletic and have the measurables than just have the measurables and really don't know what you're doing and have two left feet, right? So you got to be able to balance the two. And that's the two guys that I'll be looking at in some of those, like I would say, less popular, position battles, because those are, the line of scrimmage, and your average fan's probably not caring so much about offensive line and defensive line as what a listener of Locked On Clemson is, for sure. All right, so coming up next, we're going to talk about those guys that people are looking for, and that is the explosive players on the offense. And we'll talk about getting rid of that boring offense, if it was boring anyways, but we'll talk about that next. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Clemson's offense is got a little predictable over the years, and so I'm excited to see what they can do now. We're in their final year with Cade Klubnik and another year with Garrett Riley, and we've got a full wide receiver core that's ready to go. The biggest question mark will be the running game, and I think that's where the explosive players can come into play. We've already talked about a ton of them. I've told you about the offensive line and the defensive line, so Clemson's going to dominate there, and they're going to keep building there for the future. But the biggest thing is Clemson can shred defenses. We know that. They have the players to shred the defense from the passing game. We know that they have offensive linemen that should be ready to go and as veteran as they'll ever get. But they don't have Phil Maffa anymore. However, there will be two guys that I'm going to be really interested in looking at in the 2025 spring game, and that is number 9, okay? Do I need to say more? Number 9. Have you heard of another number 9 at Clemson football in the past? I think maybe that's a common number of some guys that you may remember and may love. Well, just add another number 9, because it's, Dabo Swinney. I don't know if he had any pull in why Gideon Davidson picked this number, but if he did, Dabo Swinney's a big numbers guy. Number 9 is kind of a number that, has a lot of expectations now. It wasn't, I don't think, back in the day, but number 9 now with Travis Etienne and, Travis Etienne and Wayne Gallman. Now you're seeing Gideon Davidson with number 9, 6 foot, 193, big time guy, best player in his state. How much more do we need to talk about? It's insane numbers. 3,000, almost 3,000, 207 2,700 yards rushing, 43 touchdowns, 10.2 yards per rush. I mean, this guy, is a great track athlete as well. No longer going to any of the other big schools. He is a Clemson commit. He is Clemson all over him. And Larry Williams said on social media, smooth as silk. Now, we haven't had a smooth as silk type running back in quite some time. So I'm looking forward to this. Larry Williams is a guy you can trust. And this is a running back that is top of his class. As now we have no more Phil Maffa. He's going on to the NFL. You still have a lot of guys out there that can contribute and rotate in, like Keith Adams and David Ezeomume and Jarvis Green. But to me, Gideon Davidson is the one guy. So we talked about what? We talked about 95, right? We talked about 74, right? For Brayden Jacobs. Maybe I forgot to give you his number, but 74. And then we're talking about number 9. So these are numbers you got to write down, put on your notes on your iPad or whatever it may be. Don't bring an iPad to this game. Put it on your iPhone. But this is another guy where I want to see one electric play from this guy. I mean, don't you? Wouldn't you agree? Isn't this a kind of guy that you're like, this is the guy that you don't want to go to the concession stands and miss his breakout play. Even if it is in the spring game, this is just the guy that you really got to see. And if we don't see it, I'm going to be disappointed. I really am. I mean, I want to see him do just one. That's all I want. Just like we had Bryant Wesco with a touchdown last year, that kind of wet my beak, if you will. Gideon Davidson having a huge run. Doesn't have to be a touchdown. But if it is, okay, I'll take it. But this guy, I need him to have a huge play, at least one in the spring game. So I'm circling him for sure. He is basically auditioning for a running back 1 spot. That's what he's doing. I mean, I know he's just a freshman. Oh, he's got to sit the bench. I know a lot of guys have to get their reps and watch, right? They have to see what they're going to do. They have guys in front of them that they have to wait their time. But that doesn't mean the people behind them aren't talented. And that doesn't mean that they're not ready when they get their opportunity. Could he be the fall starter? I don't know. A lot of people telling me, Morgan, there's no question. He's already the fall starter. I would say, I'm leaning towards Adam Randall still right now, but it doesn't mean I'm not excited and to see what Gideon Davidson will do for the spring game this Saturday. He could really pop the crowd off, ignite the whole Death Valley on fire for sure in a good way, and have it rocking like back in the day when we had just electric guys electric running back that just could kill you. And Clemson has had really good electric running backs in the past. We just got to get one more back in the mix. And maybe it's somebody else that surprises me. Hey, I'm not going to complain, but my guy I'm circling right now is number 9. And then another guy, before this, let me go into saying the one thing I'll look at, like when he's doing his drills, when he's in his plays, I'm just curious how patient he is. Does he outrun his blockers? Does he have good vision? Does he get kind of lost in the mix when it comes to this level of play? Because there's a huge difference between an offensive line and a defensive line at the college level versus at the high school level. These guys are much bigger, stronger, and faster than what you see in high school. So I'm curious to see how patient he is behind his blocks, waiting for them to develop versus just, hitting and running into guys, right? The next guy on the list for me is Marquis Henderson, number 3, 5'10", 170 from BHP, South Carolina, 4-star guy, number 4 player in the state of South Carolina, had over 1,000 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns, 13.9 yards per carry, mainly a running back. But I know a lot of people tell me, well, Morgan, he's not going to be the full-time running back. He's going to be doing like flex, and he could be a wide receiver, and he's very versatile. And I get it. I think that, Clemson has seen a lot of him. He's come to camp many times. And so there's not a lot of guessing games on what he can do, but he is definitely a guy that is super fast, in my opinion. I think that, he can return kicks if he needs to. He could go out in the slot if he needs to. He can make his way out in the flats from the backfield. I think he'll split a couple of reps, maybe even be a guy that's kind of like a jet sweep type guy. Maybe he gets a couple of reps at kind of a slot position. Maybe he gets a couple of reps at running back, and maybe he's more of a gimmicky type of, I don't want to say gimmicky, but like more of a specialist, in the case of kickoffs and punt returns, but also a specialist in the case of like, wide receiver screens, running back screens, jet sweeps, those kind of things. So I'm curious to see how they're going to use Marquis Henderson and how he's going to help improve the team. He's a big play threat for me. I mean, if you give him enough room, he is absolutely gone. He could be a spark that keeps you going for sure. The big thing for me that I'm looking for him is where does he fit in, right? And can he keep control of the ball? Can he look like he knows where he needs to be and he's not lost out there because he's going to have kind of a versatile role? And can he get in space to where he can, hit that top speed that we know he has? So I'm really curious how he's going to fit into the mix, but I think that's the two guys that I would probably circle. So now you got 4 guys down. You got 95, 74, 9, and 3 that you definitely have to circle going into this spring game this Saturday. Give a little pop on the offensive line and a lot of grinding it out and grit on the defensive line and offensive line, and then the pop on the explosiveness of the guys in the backfield. So let me know if you agree with any of this. Maybe I'm missing some guys that you want to see. I'm really trying to stick to just the freshmen right now because I know there's a lot of like veteran guys that I think, could get the crowd going as well. All right, we're going to finish it up with telling you about 2026. I know, Morgan, you're saying, Morgan, it's just 2025. Let me enjoy 2025. No, I'm not letting you enjoy just 2025. We're going to talk about next year's, yeah, you heard me, next year's spring game, and who are some guys that I want you to go ahead and circle, even though we don't know their true number, but I want you to go ahead and just have them in the back of your mind as, hey, these are guys that Morgan told me about in 2025 to watch for 2026. Ever wonder or ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I've told you before that I realized just how much money I was spending on food, and it is absolutely crazy. I didn't have to eat out as much as I did because I was going to get groceries as well. You can budget smarter. I've budgeted smarter by using Monarch Money. And also, I'm on the same page with my wife. It is so much smoother tracking our finances. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Clemson's spring game is always fun for us recruiting nerds and for us diehards because you get to see players early on and maybe get a little bit of a glimpse of how they're going to be and what kind of star they're going to be, or maybe a little bit of a glimpse of how kind of a bust they're going to be. But don't put too much pressure on expectations on guys from the spring game, because we've seen, last spring game, a lot of things that we thought were going to happen in the fall really never happened. So, it is still just a spring game, but for those of us who like to see the newcomers, see the new faces, write down the new numbers, it's always fun to kind of look at them and speculate how they're going to do and how they're going to impact the team. And if they can impact the team early, we've already talked about 4 guys that I know for sure are going to impact the team early. And if I missed any, you got to let me know for sure. But Clemson's 2026 spring game. All right. Now hear me out. I know what you're thinking. 2026. Oh, come on. I gotta do my taxes for 2025 right now. But wait, hang tight. I'm going to tell you about next year. There's going to be a couple of blockbuster players that I'm really excited for that could come to Death Valley and really be a highlight factor. And then, there's no guarantee still. There's a lot of what ifs out there, but Clemson has a really good 2026 recruiting class. You might have already seen this, one of the top in the country, and they're loaded with 2 offensive headliners that to me could be big time future pieces for Clemson and superstars in April of 2026. So let's get into the hype. Well, the first guy is Tait Reynolds. He's a quarterback, 4-star from Queen Creek, Arizona. I know you're thinking, wow, Arizona, that's crazy. Clemson got a guy from Arizona, but he's 6'2", 220. Number 27 quarterback in the nation, number 3 in the state of Arizona, and he committed back in July of last summer. He's a two-sport guy, and that's kind of where, we got to get a little bit scared because you know where I'm going with this. I mean, if you're really good at baseball, which he throws 90 mile an hour in a fastball in baseball, I know that kind of gets you a little bit nervous of maybe he'll go and do another sport, but he had over 1,800 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, and over 600 yards rushing with 17 touchdowns rushing. And, this guy, to me, when you go watch his huddle film, he is just very, very smooth. He is just very quick and fast, keeps his head down the field, has a great arm, can regularly make throws from 40, 50 yards, but can absolutely tear up the turf if you give him space. He likes to get his way out of would-be tacklers. Arm tackles are not going to be successful against him. He can spin out of those. He can roll out of those, and he can take it all the way down the field. I showed videos to my daughter of this guy running down the field after some plays, and she was just like, wow. And I said the same thing. He has this smoothness, like effortless type of speed. And it's kind of surprising and shocking because it's not really what you would think you would see because of his build. He's a little bit taller. He kind of has the measurables that you would want for a quarterback, but he's definitely a dual threat guy, and he has an arm, as you know, because he's a baseball guy. A lot of people say that maybe he's kind of like a Jalen Hurts. I don't think necessarily I see that quite yet. I do think he's a much better thrower, passer, I guess you could say, than Jalen Hurts, even though he's gotten a lot better in the NFL. He chose Clemson over some local schools like out in Arizona and Utah, but 2026 is going to be a huge year because Cade Klubnik's likely gone. He won't be on the team. He can't stay around anymore. He'll be in the NFL trying to make some money, more money, I guess, in the professional world and trying to make his name on Sundays. So Clemson's going to have a little bit of a gap there. I think that's why they're trying to hype up Christopher Vezina. Christopher Vezina has to fill in that role. Unless if it's not Christopher Vezina, then it's going to be someone like Tait Reynolds, I think, that'll have to come in and be a freshman star. And you don't 100% want a freshman to have to come in and take the lead of a team, especially a team at this level with this much talent around them. But if it comes down to it, Tait Reynolds has a lot of the raw talent that you're looking for in a star quarterback. Just imagine him throwing kind of lasers out there, 20, 30 yards. He can throw a deep ball 40, 50 yards. He's got great accuracy, in my opinion, and he can really gas you up, and he can torch linebackers at any given moment. So if you don't stay true to your coverage, then he'll tear you up as well. Could he be the next quarterback face and the franchise guy for Clemson at the quarterback position? Possibly. I think he's definitely a guy. That's why they recruited him. But we'll see. Can Clemson keep him away from going to baseball? That's another big question mark there for Tait Reynolds. So he's number 1 on my list to look for in 2026. A lot of hype there. And then a wide receiver just recently committed over the Elite Junior Day that they did in March, but Connor Salmin, 4-star wide receiver from Maryland, 6'1", 190, super fast guy, 146 overall right now, 19th overall wide receiver, 5th best player in Maryland, committed in March and at the Elite Retreat, and he's a track star, 10.44 100 meter, 21.5 200 meter per milesplit.com. And, to me, he had, he's got the speed that you need for wide receiver at the outside position. So 42 catches, 680 yards, 8 touchdowns, and one of the best, facing some of the better defensive backs in the state. And Tyler Gresham said that, he really is excited for him. He's got a lot of speed behind him. Think he could be a guy that could be a huge deep threat for the team. Beat out Penn State and Virginia Tech for his services. Just another guy that would be a freshman in 2026. I don't know how much he'll be able to contribute 2026, because you'll still have like Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore will be juniors out there, but and you may have another year with Tristan Smith. So I wouldn't say he might be immediately starting or anything like that, but he could be a guy that's going to replace these guys that are already stars on the team. So just replenishing what Clemson has now, and there's already the speed there for sure. All right, so hey, I'm giving you a little bit of a preview of guys to watch for this Saturday, and a little bit of a future look at guys to watch for 2026. So hopefully you enjoyed the show here, April 2nd show, and thank you so much for the support over on YouTube and podcast wherever you listen to it, and over on X as well at The Morgan T Show. Thank you for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. For your second listen, you can always check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. April is here now, and the Final Four is here, and we've got to see who's going to win it. And you can be the most informed college basketball fan throughout all of March Madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you